Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the World Tactical Racing League Gravel Series, race number 2. We are out on the Jungle Circuit reverse this week. I'm Nathan Garrett, Dave Toll next to me. Dave, last week we saw some interesting racing, that's for sure, with the addition of the Sturzo game. We'll see if steering is still involved, but James Hodges walking away, getting a win that he's not grabbed a podium like that in quite a long time. So it's cool to see some of that advantage being taken. While at the same time, some people going, maybe I need a Sturzo.
Yeah, I think that might have been the best marketing that Sturzo. I hope that James got a good deal on his, that's for sure. So it's nice to see these new factors coming into play, though. It's going to be an exciting day of racing, 30 kilometers on the JCR, the reverse route out there on the Jungle Circuit. It's always going to be challenging on the gravel. The bike makes a big difference. We got a really strong women's field here as well as in the men's race, all the different men's races. We got some heavy hitters. It's going to be a fun day of racing. So let's get them out on course. Andiamo here this morning.
I'm actually going to jump right on with Walter Zwart here. And Zwart, though, he's on the Tron bike. I don't know if he got the memo. I'm wondering if that is what he is wearing. Is it if he's actually on that bike right here? We'll have to double check on There's a couple different ways that you can check and make sure. Companion app will help us out because sometimes on our end it doesn't always show exactly. But I'm pretty sure he's on the Tron. He's gonna have a tough day, but a little bit extra workout here for Mr. Walter Zwart. Yeah, so
explain why for people. Yeah, let's make that clear.
Yeah, so the Gravel Series is all about being out on the gravel. And in Zwift, the reality of the way that the roads work is that when you do use a mountain bike or a gravel bike, you travel faster on the dirt roads. And so as you can see here, the mountain bike is going to travel faster over time, whereas the gravel bike is going to travel faster also on dirt, but it's going to have a faster pickup time. It would travel a little bit slower over time than the mountain bike. And then the Tron or road bike is, good luck.
So how much more work is he doing? Is it 10 watts? Is it 15 watts? Because, I mean, that's really
we're gonna have to bring in Eric Schlange from Zwift Insider on that one if we're going to answer that question because he's done all the tests.
So, okay, and just a guess, a feel for it. I mean, it's definitely noticeable. And again, what we're talking about here is that Wouter Zwart, a rider out of Arizona, who's been tremendously successful on this platform. And the bike, though, is a disadvantage for him today. He's on that Tron bike, which normally, in a lot of situations, is an ideal bike to have, or certainly up there, isn't it, Nathan? It's one of the more desirable bikes, but not today.
And actually, there was also released just recently about how the Tron bike is the best all-around bike, hands down. Zwift Insider also did a scatter plot specifically on how it performed up against all of the top 4 bikes with all of the top wheels on, and showed how the Tron bike all around nailed on an XY axis, nailed that speed as high as you could go as far as the times go. So Tron bike is fast as can be, but on a course like this, you can see Wouter, who's an extremely experienced rider, already off the back and hanging out with a couple of the riders who've fallen off now.
That says it all right there. Because normally, if all the bikes were equal, if they're all on Tron bikes, you know that Wouter Zwart would be right up at the Tête de la Course or the front of the bike race. So I was wondering how much of an impact this had. Like if Wouter, if you were blindfold, didn't know what bike you were on, you would think you had incredibly bad legs today, or you just wouldn't understand why you were being dropped. So it goes to show you the gamification on Zwift makes a big difference. That's second group now that Zwart is in. So I guess we're going to jump forward and pick up the vanguard of the races. Here we go. Again, 30 kilometers on the Jungle Circuit reverse we're racing here today. Look at that, Nathan. Already a selection, less than a dozen riders here. We're only 3.5K in.
That's one of the cool things about this course as well as this series is because of the changes, not just from changing up bikes, but also because of the way that the speeds function and the amount of pickup that you do have out on the dirt, and the changes from dirt to pavement and things like that. You do have a few more opportunities to try and get away. Also, the course has a little bit more cornering in it, so there is a lot of opportunities in the Gravel Series. And I do think that the reality of being able to use different bikes and get a little bit of advantages, be strategic with the timings of when you use your power, those kind of things, because it's time and resource And the reality is the resources that you have is how much power can you produce. And I think being able to use those at specific times on a course like this, like a gravel series, really brings that out, the strategy, in a little bit more of a way where it's not just watts versus watts. And then if you have a Sturzo, that's even more so. Now, I think it may be turned off today. I am not seeing James moving around too much. We'll see if he does, as we do know he has one. I did get a message from Martin saying that they had requested it to be turned on, but we're not sure if it got turned back on, because actually Zwift did do an update, I believe, trying to, or a change at least, looking to limit the ability to get the Sturzo into races, just to get that pay-to-win idea out of some of the racing here. So you do need to request it if you do want it, and then Zwift need to give the okay just for the race organizers, just so they know.
I'm sure we'll have Sturzo only races or Sturzo allowed races coming up very soon here. Seeing David Pacheco in our field, one of the strong riders to watch, no doubt about it. Actually, I say field. We're going to jump back now and take a look at the women. And boy, look at this 2020 really showing up. That's Courtney Nelson up there, rider to watch for sure. She's going to have her day. But wow, this is the full squadra that we're looking at, including the Colombian Natalia Franco. So, okay, it's always fun to watch this. So this is the WTRL, the World Tactical Racing League. There's two different ways you can look at it now. If you're a rider like, I'm going to jump back in on Zwift Power and look at the women here, Kristen Kolchinski, Antonina Reznikov, who was super strong last week. She rides for the same team as Pacheco. I was just talking about David there on the PTZ team, actually, he's World Elite Zwifters. So, anyways, going back to the men now, Nathan, we can see we've got two strong groups. It's going to take a tactical racer to win today.
Yeah, and looking real quickly here at the women, apologies on that. I do see Charlotte Backus now jumping off the front already. Looking to already make a split, it looks like, similar to what we saw in the men's race here at the same exact time as they take this left-hand turn. And I think that is, like I said earlier, the change-up between the road to the dirt, I think, has everything to do with that. I think that
Right.
reality of how quickly things change when you do hit the dirt is what they're looking to take advantage of there. And it looks like already it was putting a little bit of hurt in some of the riders here. Marston off the bat. Yates just trying to hang on. Look at this already. A gap 172 beats per minute. Needs to grab on from Team CISO here, trying to jump back on, but maybe just going to grab the wheel. Looks like going to do it still. 173 beats per minute, though.
Yeah, getting back in, but Nathan, that's the danger zone that you talk about there, where you're just getting gapped. You really have to make that the surge to get back into the group as quickly as you can, because you are burning watts at such a high rate. I mean, it's really, really amazing how the difference between being in the draft and not being in the draft. So, all right, Nathan, I just looking at Charlotte Backus there, Kolchinski, Reznikov, some of these riders that trying to figure out how to beat 2020 today. I'm going to guess it's not so much creating allies within that group. I think it's going to be racing aggressively out here. Expect a real throwdown today. So, boy, really kicking up some dust right now as we're going to look at a couple more riders. So, Nathan, is it easier to get gapped on the gravel?
It seems that way. I mean, the reality of how it does slow you down a little bit, and if you are pressing at the front, you are able to get a little bit of a extra push. If you just think about the physics of it, if everyone's forced to work harder to get the same speed, even if there is a draft, there is a reality that if you have to work harder to get the same speed, you will have to match a little bit more. If they are pressing at the front, it does look like that's exactly what's happening. It's 2020 taking over at the front here. Natalia Franco as well as Paulus were just pressing the pace. Looks like Nelson was there as well. So a little bit of a kick there from Nelson, making sure she's moving her way backwards. And we do see 4 of 5, actually, of those 2020 riders. So they have shown up in force today to try and take this down. Last week, it was Kolchinski that was able to get the better of everything, and we'll see if she can match that again. Let's take a quick look, though, at the results from last week. It was a pretty solid race. We'll take a look first at the women's side of things as they come through their first lap here. Excuse me, it was Antonio Reznikov who walked away, though, from everyone. Kristen Kolchinski did get the better of 2020, and Natalia Franco coming through for 3rd place. It was a sprint to the line between Kristen Kolchinski and Natalia Franco. But as you can see, Antonio Reznikov, she walked away. She only held on, though, to that last those 3 seconds at the end. I believe that was the situation last week. Or it was actually a sprint between Antonio, actually, and Kristen. My mistake. That's exactly what happened. I remember now. So then Beth McGavir, Shayna
Yeah,
Paulus,
it
and
came
Shelly
down.
Backus.
Yeah, it really came down to one. So they were together coming into the finale, and then one last surge from Antonina Reznikov ended up just getting that gap. But I tell you what, Kolchinsky certainly raised some eyebrows with actually the riding that she's been doing, as I mentioned, over the last month. She's been that rider that came out of the woodwork. Absolutely. So Antonina Reznikov, excuse me, the Israeli athlete, is a world class triathlete who's sort of moved into a phase of being a mom of two, but she certainly is a resolute athlete. So 2020 has her hands full. Charlotte Backus is another rider that I would talk about here as being very dangerous as individuals. However, Nathan, I definitely say that 2020 brought the A game here today. It's a team, they've got some depth, they're riding as a unit. We really have recognized over the last couple of years, they have been one of the pro teams that has I would say, taken to Zwift at the very highest level. They've made a real commitment. We've seen Nikki Cranmer out leading rides on a weekly basis, the road to Tokyo. This is the team of Chloe Dygert, who's been actively involved, three-time Olympic gold medalist. Kristen Armstrong is a team principal there. So this team has the pedigree. It's really, really cool to see this new group every year on a team. You're going to have a new class of riders. And this group really caught a bad break with COVID, and they never got a chance to get out there and race together. But riders like Jen Lubke, who's now a leader on this team, they're looking to use this format to sharpen the edge of their sword, and I love watching it. So, but it's not easy to win at any level. And when you start going up against these wild card riders, I mean, Reznikov is certainly that. Kolchinsky is an absolute beast. As she's figuring out the game and figuring out herself as an elite athlete, Nathan, she's going to be a danger woman from here on in.
A little bit of a kick here from Nelson as they get into the first lap. This is the start officially of the first lap. They come underneath. This will be the lap finish banner. As you do see, 3 to go. Kolchinsky pulls through at 6.4 watts per kilogram. The men have already come on through this section. Let's go ahead and jump back in with them as we do have some attacks taking place on the climb. Hodge is now 4.4 watts per kilogram. Godja makes his way to the front team draft. It looks like does have a couple of riders in here today with Henderson and Godja. Godja, I heard first time on the Amp Human today. I saw he was making some posts on social and saying, "Oh, let's see if this was worth it." It looks like he's giving a little bit of a go with it at the front here. 6 watts per kilogram, 157 beats per minute. We'll see if we can get a report from him on how that ended up going down.
Well, I tell you, Nathan, you've been around the sport. So I'm, in my mid 50s. Every year there's something new that comes along, and most of them fade away. A lot of that was around cramping products over the last decade, I'd say. But AMP has done an incredible job. They really have. And let's see. Yeah, we're going to see more and more athletes using that for sure. Here we go. Gajda now up on the front. It's a split that he's creating. Sanchez is going to cover. So the Spanish rider is on the right side of this move. Look at this, Nathan. Here we go. We're about a third of the way into the race, and we've got a real moment happening right now.
Yeah, Sanchez, 4.6 watts per kilogram coming from him. 163 beats per minute. Hodges now from the KRT team. Gajda now making his way to the front on the right now. And it looks like they're able to get a little bit of a gap here. Sinian was unable to hang on there from the team Sweden. Henderson in the back of the pack, trying to just draft, it looks like. Hold on, 164. This is the last little kick before they head back on over toward the suspension bridge in just a moment. So we do have, it looks like 7 athletes, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 athletes that have made this as Sanchez continues to press on for Zwift España. So, and Henderson back to the front after drafting. You can see how the draft pulls him right to the front of the pack, actually, as he uses it very well. They seem to be working fairly well together. Nobody in too much trouble just yet.
It's actually pretty similar to the way a real-life gravel race plays out. The selections happen really slowly. A lot of times in that world, you have mechanicals. The bikes take a real beating if you don't have everything bolted down and really figured out, dialed in would be the word. Your bike's just not going to make it. Another thing to think about too, Nathan, I wonder if they tweak the drafting, because if you're racing in gravel, one of the things that keeps you from it's much, much harder to stay close to the wheel in front of you. With all the microbursts and avoiding road obstacles out there. And gravel getting thrown up off the bike into your face is something that goes on quite a bit out there. There's a lot of scree coming up off the road, depending on obviously what kind of road you're on. I'm thinking of the Flint Hills of Kansas right now. But here we are on Watopia in the men's race, Nathan. That's going to be Group 1 that we're looking at over there on the left-hand side of your screen. Actually, a larger field, more depth. Quality and quantity going on in our women's race out here today. So we've still got a big group together. It looks like a few riders have fought their way back to get their head above water now. Courtney Nelson, I have a feeling today might be a good day for her. Rider well suited for this course. Jen Lubke out of Bend, Oregon. Beautiful Bend, Oregon. There's really a lot to talk about, Nathan, when you look at this group. You've got one of the most established Zwifting teams in the sport today, along with riders like Kristen Kolchinski, who's absolutely shocking the Zwift community with the quality of rides that she's been putting together. Boy, was she like a bullet out of the chamber. And here we go. She's surging again.
Yeah, and we spoke about this last week. Her style of riding is attack, attack, attack. Right from the bottom of the climb here, Kolchinski goes the moment they start hitting it uphill here. Nelson looks to follow, 6.8 watts per kilogram coming from her. McIver there as well. It looks like Nelson trying to follow the wheel of the cryogen rider, as you can see right behind there. So the cryogen rider almost back on terms. We get a top-down view here as we go past the sloth. And the sloth is looking to grab a couple of the wheels there and pull them backwards, as it looks like Reznikov comes right on through, though, covers that move very quickly. Shayna Paulus about a 1 second back. We'll see if she can get back on terms. We look at her point of view. There it is, looking for that wheel. Backus just a little bit off the back here. 1 second to go.
This is a big moment here. Yeah, let's talk about this, because this is exactly what you want to do if you're not on the 2020 team, is isolate them. And this is happening. This is not good for 2020 right now. They're getting caught behind the 8 ball here. Charlotte Backus is trying to make her way up to that front group, because this is a major split. You're going to see, here we go. A lot of the 2020 riders are really going to have to motivate right now. So let's see what we've got. But this is a massive 1 minute window of racing right here. You've either got it or you don't. The train is leaving the station. Not all the bags are on board right now, that's for sure. I mean, Nathan, look how small that front group is, and I'm wondering who has made it. So we know Reznikov and Kolchinski are there. Courtney Nelson is one of the riders. MacGyver from Cryo is there. Shayna Paulus made the move, and I think Natalia Franco, the Colombian, did as well. Yes, she did. So now you can see, I mean, this might be the selection, Nathan.
Franco has to come across, actually. She's still 3 seconds back there.
Franco's not in the group. You're right. I apologize.
She's not in the group here. So, but it is only 3 seconds. It's coming back. It is well, she's got to go now, though. I mean, she's got to be up and out of the saddle completely, because they're going to get into the flatter sections, and Kolchinski does not want to wait up. Look at what she's doing. She's on the front here, continuing to press the pace. Nelson trying to back it off, just following wheels, it looks like. But MacGyver sees as well what is happening here and wants to push the pace, try and get rid of as many riders from 2020 as possible. It looks like that's exactly what's happening. Now, Nelson goes to the front, though. So interesting enough, I think she's going to the front and backing off, though. I think maybe not trying, up in the 6 watts per kilogram. So perhaps she's willing to just say, look, if you can come with us. Otherwise, we got 2 in here, and we're happy with that.
The best defense is a good offense, and that is exactly what we are witnessing. If you're strong, if you've got the legs, you don't want to sit around with those 2020 ladies too long. You've got to take it to them, and it has happened. This is going to be now. So Shayna Paulus was the best placed rider on 2020 last week in this WTRL series. So she's really right now the placeholder for that team in this group, and she's going to have her hands full here. The Scottish rider for Cryo, that's going to be MacGyver. Courtney Nelson is here as well. So that's okay. So that's really a big, big difference. No doubt about it. So Courtney Nelson, I thought that was Natalia Franco for a moment. I apologize. We're now getting it all straight here, as there's a lot of information coming in. So this is your front group.
Franco, look at her. Here. Look at her try, though. I mean, it's been 3 seconds for how long? It went out to 6 for a moment. She continues on at 5 watts per kilogram. She needs one last jump. Like, if she can just jump across right now, last kick to those wheels. It's 2 seconds now. Kolchinski sees her coming. She does not want the third rider to come in. She's like relentless. Now, they don't have to follow Kolchinski, though, but MacGyver's going to make it happen. Oh, man.
I love what Kolchinski is doing here. I mean, like, this is one rider racing like a team. So if you're a Natalia Franco, you've got to be shaking your head right now. I'll tell you one thing about the Colombian rider. If she weighs 50 kilo, 10 of it is heart. I mean, that rider is fierce, no doubt. If anybody can get back in this group, but Kolchinsky is absolutely going to bury herself right now. I mean, this woman is a human wattage cottage up at the front of the bike race. I mean, we're 16 minutes in. They've already done more than 10.5 kilometers. This is a very rapid race. So let me set the table one more time here. 30 total kilometers of racing on this gravel circuit. It's been a game changer here in the WTRL League. And you're looking at the women that have made this front group. This is a tremendously exciting race that we're watching, and we're only a third of the way into it. But actually, all things being fair, if you look at the numbers, Nathan, 2 out of 5 is not bad. Even when you're 2020, you're not going to get everybody up in this group. So I would say pretty much status quo if you're going to go ahead and rate the performance up till now. It could be worse. It could be better. Reznikov is going to be super happy with her ride here today. She's our defending champion. She won last week, the first time that we've done a WTRL gravel race. So, and there is absolutely the rider to watch in the black. That's Kolchinsky. She is going to be a lot of fun. We're finding that's one of the great things about Zwift is people will continually be finding the platform, Nathan. The best rider who's ever ridden on Zwift probably hasn't ridden on Zwift yet.
Reznikov now sitting in second wheel, just following the continued efforts here of Kolchinsky. 176 beats per minute currently coming from here. Reznikov second wheel, as you can see. We can see that in the men's race, real quick, let's go ahead and jump on back over there. It's still 7 riders up, unable to split things up as they come on through to start their second lap. They're about to start their climb. It looks like it's going to be Manert there from WTRL. Paul Waitley, BRT team. Gajda from Draft. Now Hodges, last week's winner, taking over at the front now. Sanchez looking to follow. And as we head into this climb here, let's take a quick look at how things played out last week. This will also be the top 10 in the series standings for now. Hodges walked away with it with that Sturzo. No Sturzo this week, it looks like, because I did see the comment coming in from Matt Wheeler.
Yeah.
James Hodges. Dan Fleeman took second place. Chris Mannert there, followed up by Penn Henderson, Hywell Davies, Andrew Godstrike, Hugo Sanchez, Andy W., and it looks like D. Veerman and E. Harris. Now, Dan Fleeman not making it today, most likely because in the last 2 days, he was in the Pro-Am Off the Map series, actually, looking to support his indoor specialist SARS TPC team, SARS the Pros Closet team. So we are missing a few of the esports teams. We do have the Pro-Am going on currently, but and so I have a feeling Fleeman's most likely resting the legs a little bit because they were out on Rising Empire. Or no, they were on London, actually, for Leith and Box Hill. Which looked absolute suffering, and so most likely taking a little bit easier today.
Yeah, that's an incredibly high level of racing, no doubt about it, as is here. That's what it's interesting when people, I think it's a little hard for some folks to really conceptualize what races are part of what leagues, but what Zwift Community Live is doing is offering racing for everybody around the world. And same thing here today, where we have 4 different men's categories. This is the A group that you're looking at. I mean, the watts per kilo that these guys put out, if you Zwift yourself, you have a much better feel for how insanely hard it is just to make 4 watts per kilo, let alone, sit there with your FTP at 6. It's mind-blowing. But that's why we do this, right? To find what human beings, what the highest level of performance can be. And James Hodges is in that conversation. But Nathan, it is interesting. That Sturzo conversation will continue on. Again, that's Elite makes it. It's a piece of hardware that you put underneath your front wheel that activates actual steering. There's been a steering element to Zwift. If you look at FutureWorks projects, there certainly has been steering around, but it's really bringing it into the mainstream, and Sturzo does that.
Yeah, and last week we did see it impact the race, and now as the riders jump into the climb here, it looks like the women starting their second lap. We do have this front group. Let's go ahead and check real quick about what the situation is in each of the races. 7 off the front here, 7 in the lead group in the men's race as they start their climb into their second lap with about 1.5 to go out in the Gravel Series on the Jungle Reverse Circuit. In the women's race, we've got 5 off the front with Reznikov, Nelson from 2020, Paulus from 2020 has made it, McIver there from Team Crowgen, and Kolchinsky, it looks like riding unattached. Natalia Franco will not give up the ghost, it looks like. She's 15 seconds up in no women's land currently. Jen Lubke as well as Johan, and then it's going to be Charlotte Backus and one other rider. It looks like Wagner there, or chase group of 4, trying to bring back Franco 27 seconds back from the lead group in the women's race. So that's the current situation as the women are about to start their climb as well into their second lap.
I'm really surprised Carly Johan didn't make this front group. Maybe positioning out there today, Nathan, but she's another really strong rider. Charlotte Backus as well. This field really had depth, but we're going to jump back in because it looks like we got a 2-rider move going clear here. And these guys are ready to start thinking about the finale, Nathan. So last week's winner, as you mentioned, James Hodges, yeah, he's putting some pressure on right now. That's going to be Menard there, the Belgian rider, working with him here. Really the only rider I'd say is, and now taking over on the front. A little bit of a rotation happening here right now, Nathan. Well, these guys are pressing, and it looks like they might be showing one rider the back door here.
Looks like Sanchez last week, he was in the top 10, unable to hang on. As you can see now, falling off the pace. Now jump, a little bit of a jump across. You can see the acceleration up to the wheels there, but Hodges continues every time it bumps up just a little bit, moves to the front, 7 watts per kilogram coming from him currently. Mannert there follows the wheel, moving into second wheel now on the Scott Spark. And it looks like Mannert, they're trying to hold wheel second wheel, excuse, look, Gotcha there, hitting third wheel. And then coming on through on the gravel bike, interesting to see.
Bill Whiteley.
Go on the D-Pack there, so lots of change of position, and you can see how quickly they're changing position like that. And as they grab every one of the wheels, you do see a little bit of a difference in the way that they interact in the game as well when they are on the dirt like this, with the speeds a little bit slower. So to the front now, Mannert taking over again. The climb is going to be over, unable to drop anybody off. A lap and a half to go. One more climb after this one. We'll see if anything happens on the descent. We're going to jump back in with the ladies, though, as it looks like at the front, they are starting their climb, and Kolchinski, just like the last lap, makes her way immediately to the front as it goes uphill and starts to press the pace. Reznikov, though, covering it immediately and taking over on the gravel bike.
It's interesting. Kolchinski, Nathan, is a jeweler. Amazing work that she does in real life. I get the feeling that takes a lot of patience, wouldn't you think, to make jewelry? It doesn't just happen. It's a process. Here, she races a completely opposite mindset, a super aggressive racer, really likes to take it to the race, and there'll certainly be another patented Kolchinski attack coming up here. Reznikov, again, our defending champion, she's going to be hard to take off the top seat of the podium, but that's what 2020 is here for, no question. So Nelson and Paulus, the 2 riders there in that familiar, coveted 2020 jersey. This is a fun team, Nathan. It's been great for us fans of Zwift and esports having this team embrace the sport at such a high level. That is for sure. And then Beth McGyver, the cryo rider. She's a cryo swan of their 22 different birds. It might even be more than that. Then what cryo is doing is incredibly cool, and it's nice to see them represented up in this high status front group that we have here today on what we're calling race number 2 in our WTRL Gravel Series. So that's a good snapshot right now of the front group. One of those women will be a champion here today on Zwift.
It looks like there was just a move that just went off the front there in the men's race as well. They did, and interesting enough, before they hit, this is the same section as the same section when they first hit the dirt roads that Hodges made a little bit of move. Looks like he's kind of got this down, this section, because he's gone off the front with Henderson. And they've got a 6-second gap at this point. Hodges just let it go, it looks like, Mannert as well. So Henderson and Hodges off the front, 2-man breakaway at this point. Mannert there, 3.0 watts per kilogram. Looks like they've gotten fairly tired now. So 2-man break. Chase at this point of only 3, as Pacheco has also been dropped off after that attack. So that's the situation on the downhill.
So Nathan, obviously, we talk about how courses suit different horses, right? This just looks like a wattage monster course to me. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it doesn't look like, turn your brain off and just make watts. It seems like the name of the game out there today. Obviously try to cover the moves, but it looks like only the strong are left standing.
The reality of this course is also that there isn't a lot of climbs in Zwift like the gravel climb. And so the distance that it is and the time it takes to climb it is that perfect. I'm going to have to take a look. I'm guessing it's like a 3-minute climb, 4-minute climb, right around that area. And that is kind of the perfect VO2, everything you got London has a couple of them. Box
The
Hill.
puncher,
You've got
the
Leith Hill, but
puncher
it's
type
those
rider.
exactly. And those puncher
Yep.
climbs, they are perfect for absolutely decimating a group without making
It's
it
so,
solo efforts, without making it like a
isn't it?
20-minute solo or something.
I love how cycling is so. As you start peeling back the layers of the onion, right? Because there's some riders that can climb at a rhythm for an hour. I mean, it's just insane. But you don't put them into the hurt box quite like you do on these climbs, right? Where it's 3 minutes, but it is like passing a kidney stone kind of 3 minutes. I mean, it is absolutely almost beyond pain kind of thing. These ladies aren't quite at that point yet, but look at this. Reznikov is throwing up some sick numbers. She's about to turn the world orange here, Nathan. As I saw, just climbing over 6 watts per kilo. I think just fighting for some positioning here. Is it maybe going to be MacGyver's day today? She is riding incredibly well. Nathan, again, you've talked about that TSS number, the rider who's able to do the least amount of work but still be in the front group. Is that MacGyver today?
Yeah, interesting to see MacGyver is really following the wheels well. As he's talking about fighting for position, a lot of times people not sure that they understand how that is such a real thing in Zwift. That if you're at the back
Absolutely.
and you're not finding the wheel correctly at the back, you can suddenly see a gap moving its way off the front. As you do see Kolchinsky doing exactly that. And now at the back, Paulus, if some of these riders
Bad
start
timing.
to jump across, and
Yep.
as you can see now, Paulus here, there's a little bit of gap between her and the rest of the riders. This is a perfect example of the speeds went up at the front. A few of the riders were able to get a little bit of draft at the front. Paulus is going to grab this wheel over a 2020 rider, but if she lets the gap go, next thing you know, the positioning was everything, and 3 riders are gone. So now covering that move very quickly, you got to be so attentive, and that's where it's the idea of virtual racing,
Well,
really having a tactic to it is how you use your watts, when it is that you control the avatars.
you know what I love, Nathan, is so if they could have, that Reznikov or MacGyver would have come up and counterattacked that effort that was just made by Kolchinsky, but they couldn't. Kolchinsky's going that hard. But this, at that moment there, that was 2020 on the back foot. Now, they're just like a prize fighter. They're able to almost immediately recover from that, but they don't want to find themselves in that situation again. You get a Kolchinsky attack, followed by a followed by a counter attack from Reznikov or MacGyver. You got yourself a whole new set of problems. You're watching a grass fire turn into a structure fire almost immediately out there. As we're going to be coming up on 20K in. Oh, Nathan, what a final 10K these women have to look forward to. If you're going to watch one bike race on Zwift this week, this group right here, you got that situation where one of the strongest teams in the world, 2020, has got 2 riders in a front group of 5, but they have 3 very strong, I would say, regulators out there when you look at these women. Like all 3 of them individually make a huge problem. Collectively, as 3, not pretty.
And on the downhill section here, we may see a little bit of a break if they have a kick over the bridge. This little kickoff over the top of this bridge section, it really gets super steep for just a moment. As you do see it go 4%, 5% grading in the upper right-hand corner, now 6% into those orange numbers for a moment. And if there are some tired riders, little snaps here could cause the elastic to go here. MacGyver, though, kicks into 10 watts per kilogram, and nobody going to get dropped off. Looking back just a little bit here, Backus, a part of that chase group, it does look like they were able to catch Natalia Franco, who chased for a full lap, brought it back to like 3 seconds again at one point, and then ended up going backwards to this group. And they're going to be looking for a top 6 with Backus here leading things out amongst them. But 2020 in both groups with 2 riders in both of them. So they could get a solid result out of both of these groups, actually. We'll see what ends up happening at the front, as it's going to be, again, 2020 watching Reznikov and Kolchinsky, who were able to break away in the final lap, actually, last week. We'll see if that happens again. And or if 2020 were able to do some homework, and they're going to see if they can take down some of the Zwift community racers out here today.
One of the great things about social media and how it dovetails into this racing is you get to learn a little bit more about the riders. When Reznikov, a couple of weeks ago, made a funny comment after we were mentioning that she was a world-class triathlete. She very humbly stated that I'm a mom of 2 now who likes to Zwift, and I think that just kind of speaks of mindset, Nathan. When you look at somebody, a class act to say the very least. The rider, the Israeli rider that wins last week, riding very well here today. Going back now and picking up the Chase group. There's our old friend Charlotte Backus, the turbo rider, racing out of Park City, Utah. Talking about Charlotte Backus is not a bike racer, Nathan. She's a lifestyle.
Yeah, Charlotte. Yeah, she's making some pretty cool social media posts recently. If you haven't followed, definitely go check that out. And go follow all these ladies. Actually,
follow all of them
out here for sure.
It's
They've
crazy.
got. Speaking of on social media, Nicole coming on through last weekend. She's saying Natalia Franco won in real life climb at Johnson City Omnium in Tennessee. Actually, so maybe a little bit tired out there today, as she rode.
Wow.
They're
having road races in Tennessee.
56.6 miles and 7,020 feet. So Natalia here in the second group that we're watching right now. Thanks a lot, Nicole. If you want to bring in some more comments like Nicole did, go ahead at Z Community Live, as you can see in the tweet at Z Community Live. Or you can also comment over on the Facebook or the YouTube or the Twitch channels. We do see Chris Brown keeps on coming on through with lots of encouragement for 2020. So good to see Chris Brown jumping in here, as well as Michael Davis and David Hoffmeyer. Hoffmeyer here saying, you guys may have already discussed this, but we are thinking that Reznikov is on the gravel because she's a stronger climber and is able to hang on through the climbs, and then perhaps wants the gravel for the sprint. And that's actually a pretty good that
played out last week
there. Yeah, it definitely did, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good call for sure. Shayna Paulus is a very interesting athlete. Her partner is a professional football player, the NFL here in America. They met at the University of Southern California. She's from Northern California, just outside Sacramento, Roseville. But her brother, Nielsen, is also a professional bike racer. And I think one of the coolest things that they do is the respect and pride they have of the Oneida Nation. Their father is from the Oneida tribe, as are they. And you would know who that is, Nathan, just down the road from you there in Wisconsin. And does a really tremendous job of just representing who she is and what she's about, and is somebody that I can see why I forget the name of the person that was cheering for her on Twitter, but she's going to have a lot of fans because she is a person with incredible gravity. She is the kind of athlete that you want to know more about, and the more you learn about her, the more you want to support her. Really a wonderful young woman. So as we take a look now, so we've pretty much identified a little backstory on everyone here, haven't we? I guess the one rider that I don't know much about would be MacGyver. We need to get over to Scotland, Nathan, and do some broadcasts from there. Zwift Community Live Scotland edition. When you're ready.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can pull off if we can move the entirety of the broadcast. Broadcast productions over to Scotland. We'll see how
our friends from COA, the Australian crew, who are awesome, always say they're racing for the chocolates. There we would be racing for the haggis, I guess. Maybe not. That might not motivate.
Going for the haggis, James Hodges. Now at this point, not sure if he's motivated, but especially by that. But we'll have to wait and ask him afterwards. But Henderson here at this point, as we head into the final lap, it's interesting to see Hodges has been on fire, and there's no Sturzo this week. So this is not a steering. This is a pure, as you would say, wattage cottage going on here. Henderson now trying to jump back on turns, but it looks like Hodges again is going to walk away. And Hodges, okay, for the longest time, Hodges definitely has been more of your FTP threshold type effort type rider. You know, he's got a kick, but when it really starts to get into some of those higher, punchier situations, I've not seen him be able to hang on. It's a smaller field. I think he just set the tempo when he needed to, and he was able to break Henderson as well as the rest of the group. And Hodges going to walk away with another one this week.
You know, Nathan, races are motivated in so many different ways, right? Some are obviously going to be motivated by compliments and feeling good. Others like it when you tell them what they can't do. Maybe Hodges is motivated by, there was so much talk about him using the Sturzo last week. And again, just to recap for you if you weren't with us, Sturzo is a piece of hardware being used by, it's just become available to riders. Hodges was one of the first that I ever saw, and I think all of us really on last week's broadcast here saw him using it, and he won. And I'm sure there was someone that said, well, I don't know, without the Sturzo. Well, he's going to go ahead and do it without the Sturzo today to go ahead and quiet down all that noise. The internet pundits, right? He's going to do the talking with his legs right here. No Sturzo, but again, a nuclear powered Hodges out of the United Kingdom. Again, Nathan, wouldn't you say, with your depth of knowledge here, this is one of the old school Zwifters, a guy that way before the COVID wave, James Hodges was out here making his name.
Oh, we're talking 4 years prior. James Hodges
Right.
Beta,
Original
Kiss
gangster.
Racing Team. I mean, this is as far back as it goes. As far as racing goes out on Zwift, Kiss Racing Team, Vision, PTZ, which is interesting. We do have a PTZ rider in here who's actually being dropped, perhaps. Last week's winner, Reznikov, in a spot
Whoa.
father here. What is going on? Kolchinsky, as soon as it goes uphill, again, with a kick,
She's
breaking
getting
things
Kolchinsky.
apart here now, it looks like. And Powell is looking to follow McIver as well. Nelson is there, it looks like. Reznikov 3 seconds back. It's all going to come back together as Reznikov covers that. McIver now with a kick up in the 9 watts per kilogram, but Reznikov going to come over the top. She got caught out for a second. I'm not sure that really has anything to do with the being in any trouble, just out of position, as we had talked about earlier. Looking to close it down to Reznikov.
Look
A
at
counterattack here. Breaking 2020. We saw this last week. Similar type of situation. Final lap. Looking to close it down. Kuczynski makes the first move. Reznikov now going across, and this may be the moment where it all breaks apart.
We got ourselves an OSS situation, folks. Only the strong are going to survive as they come up on 6K to go. This is your race scenario. Kristen Kolchinsky has taken out the 20-pound sledgehammer. There is nothing subtle about what this woman is doing right now. So Kolchinsky, and it looks like Reznikov. So Nathan, almost a replay of what we saw last week. Kolchinsky on the mountain bike, maybe a little bit, well, I mean, you tell me, Nathan, but a little bit faster right now. But if it does come up to a two-rider sprint, which it very well might, as these two are really, this is a repeat command performance here. So the cream is not rising to the top. It is jumping out of the picture right now. Reznikov in white, Kolchinsky in black. The chase is on. It's going to be Paulus, Nelson, and McIver now, who are going to be absolutely burying the throttle here, trying to get back up to these two. You can't play around with this one, Nathan. There's no feathering it. You got to go all in right here, right now.
Yeah, and Kolchinsky, it looks like 5.3 watts per kilogram coming from her, and it's not going to hold on to it. It looks like Nelson playing it smart. Very smart
Good for her.
move. Yeah,
What
this
a
is
fighter.
very smart from
What a
Nelson
fighter.
right here. Consistency on this climb is going to be so key. If they can just set a steady pace, not go too far over that rev meter, and just hold on to the pace that they know that they have. If it can match it, it can match it. If they can work together over the top, and then on the downhill, they might be able to bring something back. But Kolchinsky now sees that it may be coming back, punches it back out to 7 watts per kilogram for just a moment, and then back into a steady rhythm here now. 183 beats per minute here coming from this rider. They may be able to break it still. I think they've got 5 seconds, so may be able to happen. Now the question, though, is I think Reznikov is just the stronger sprinter. I'm not sure it has anything to do with the gravel bike. I mean, the gravel bike will have a better kick to the line.
Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
You know, I think Kolchinsky is just one of those lighter riders. Hit the climb, see what you can break apart. She's got a very high watt per kilogram, whereas Reznikov, I think, more of an all-arounder, perhaps, when it comes to being able to just throw down big watts to the line. We saw her out sprint easily against Kolchinsky. So if it comes to the line, I think Reznikov may have this. So Kolchinsky needs to break this rider, I think, now.
Watch this, though, Nathan. Kolchinsky is like a learning sponge. She will have learned a lot from last week's experience here. So, again, you're looking at a rider, and you see this in elite cycling. It seems like it's not every year, but you will have athletes that ascend to the top of the sport insanely quickly. And really what it comes down to is that last couple percentage points of knowledge are really what you're lacking. You've got the engine, you've got the desire, you're doing the work, and now it comes down. That's why we call this the WTRL, the World Tactical Racing League. And these last tactics are something that now, again, Reznikov doesn't have a background as a bike racer as much as a triathlete. And there is a huge difference there, right? When you talk about tactic, because triathlon, a lot of that is going to be heart and pacing. Cycling is a slightly different. Not that one is better than the other at all. It's just they're different animals. It's like not comparing apples and oranges, but maybe comparing apple or oranges and grapefruit, something like that. Because you're going to look at Reznikov again. She knows her capacity. She knows. I'm going to guess an athlete like her has an extensive pro career in triathlon. She's going to have a really good idea what she can do. Now, Kolchinsky is going to be a real wild card. Let's go back and pick up James Hodges. Now we've got a solo leader. This is the vanguard of the race, and Nathan, he's bringing it home. Here we go. This one is done and dusted, ladies and gentlemen. James Hodges taking the win here. Congratulations, James.
Nice
back
job
to
to James.
back.
Back to back efforts here. Amazing job coming from him. And then if we jump in with Henderson now, about to cross the line, it looks like we lost just a second here. Apologies on that, guys. As he just is about to cross the line. Then it looks like Maynard here with a little bit of a kick as well. It looks like we're going to have a sprint situation for that third place. Godja here now coming on through there on the mountain bike, sprinting through. Will Whiteley be able to get it, though? Paul Whiteley. Looks like Whiteley right to the line for third. It looks like I believe Godja was able to just be able to hold on. That was pretty close.
Phil Whiteley there, almost getting it. That was exciting. So those guys all made the front group today. James Hodges, Sturzo last week. No Sturzo this week, but he's still good as gold. Congratulations, James. We're going to jump back in with the women because they're going to bring this home. We're into the final, let's say, inside 4K, and these two are the vanguard. So, again, the Israeli triathlete, just a superstar with this. It's been great watching Antonina Reznikov, absolutely a crusher. Then you've got Kristen Kolchinsky here. She's the American rider coming out of the East Coast here. I believe Connecticut is her home. She is absolutely a firecracker, Nathan. This is one of the most exciting riders I've seen on this platform in this 2020 COVID racing season. So we're going to be really watching for her to see what she learned last week. Let's talk about that. Same bikes now. Kolchinsky on the mountain bike, the gravel bike here, which, Nathan, you really are the expert here, and I understand that. If it does come down to those two together at 200 meters, you have to give a little bit of an advantage there to Reznikov because of the bike, right? But then again, isn't it really going to be the grinta, how much they're willing to dig in? All things considered, I think we got ourselves a really interesting battle here. I'm not going to let the gravel bike lead me to believing that Reznikov's got this one in the bag.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, Kolchinsky, she definitely could pull something off here. It's gonna be hard up against Reznikov with the kick that we saw last week, but coming to the line, the right timing might be able to make something happen here. She's also on the better bike for trying to get away. Perhaps if she does get away and then just puts the hammer down.
Hey,
Courtney
and that's
Nelson
your pro.
Here,
that's the pro.
15 seconds back on a full-on attack on that climb. Actually, Courtney Nelson looking to shut this down and has dropped off the teammates here. Her teammate Paulus at this point is on a solo chase at 5.3 watts per kilogram on the downhill, trying to bring that back. So interesting to see. Last week, we saw, I believe it was Natalia Franco taking out third place. It looks like Courtney Nelson here is going to be the rider here from 2020 to maybe take over. Or can she chase this down? I mean, this is a huge effort. Kolchinsky sees it coming, though. I think they're going to work together to try and keep Courtney Nelson off the wheels.
Yeah, 13 seconds is the deficit. So that's quite a bit of time. But one thing we've learned, Courtney Nelson's got heart. She really does. She's a fighter, and she's going to have her day at the very highest level. That's one of the great things about Zwift is we get a chance to see these athletes compete quite a bit, and Nelson has an amazing capacity. But we're going to go back to the very front of the races. These two are locked in mortal combat at this point. So, again, it was just 1 week ago, Nathan, that we were at this exact same point here. 2K to go, two very strong riders together coming from entirely different backgrounds. It so often happens in the sport of cycling, whether it's young against old. You can only imagine the different scenarios that you can come up with. But Kolchinsky here in the black is rider taking over on the front. Reznikov happy to let Kolchinsky pull through this part of the course. As much time as you can spend on the wheel right now is really, really valuable. Trying to put a little more charge on that battery as you're watching it go down into just a few percentage points left. You're going to try to empty the tank here with that final sprint. They're down to about Let's just call it 1.5K to go. We are locked and loaded, and there you go. Kolchinski with this patented move. She is going to go all in. The chip's being pushed in the middle of the table, and Reznikov says, not on my watch. She covers that and goes over the top. Here we go. It's an absolute Donnybrook going on here on Watopia.
Kolchinski backing off now, as you can see. Will the games begin? Nelson at 12 seconds back. It's just probably too much with about 1,000 meters, about 1,200 meters to go at this point. Kolchinski now backs off after the initial attack. She's trying to break Reznikov. I think she knows she has to make it happen earlier, at least put a dent in the armor of this rider's sprint. 2.6 watts per kilogram at the front. Now the games start to begin again. Nelson continuing on at 7 watts per kilogram, trying to make this chase happen. 13 seconds back. They're just around the corner. She can almost see the dust, but it's not happening here. Kolchinski now starts to ramp things up with 900 meters to go. Reznikov still sitting on the wheel, and we may have a repeat of last week here, now up in 8 watts per kilogram. Is she going early? No. Just following the wheel quickly here, Dave.
Yeah, this is like, you wonder now, as Kolchinski's going to learn more and more. I talked about her being just a sponge for knowledge in this sport. Every time that she races with Reznikov, that's the beautiful thing. It's like a Machiavellian chess match out here, as every move matters. What will Kolchinski have learned from last week? Is Reznikov going to be able to put on another clinic? So just the last week, it was about 3.5 seconds ended up being the difference, as Reznikov countered over the top of Kolchinski and was able to get a little bit of a gap. Now, we're bringing this home. It's not going to be the same story. This is it.
Reznikov, 10 watts per kilogram. That's it. It looks like it's a nail in the coffin immediately. Ooh. We said it before. Reznikov, just the sprinter out here today. Kolchinski sets the high tempo, but Reznikov, she's got the kick to the line. 2 seconds at this point. Takes down race number 2 in WTRL Gravel Series. Kolchinski across the line. Nelson tried to chase it down, unable to do so. She can watch them finish ahead, but it'll be a 3rd place for her. Bringing things home, though, for that top 5, it will be Paulus and McIver looking to chase or looking to grab those 2 spots. We'll see a sprint between them in just a moment here. Natalia Franco looking to break away, it looks like, behind there as well in this chase group for a top 6 on the downhill there, about 47 seconds back. McIver, they're going to go with a similar move to what we saw Reznikov do. But it looks like it's going to be Paulus able to come on through. Will Paulus get at the line? Looks like 13 watts per kilogram from Paulus. She waited perfectly, but timing and right to the line. Shayna Paulus takes that down for 4th place today. Solid effort there from 20. That was super savvy, actually, from Paulus. That was pretty fun to watch.
Wow. All right. Well, the queen of gravel, no doubt about it. It's Antonina Reznikov. I tell you what, Nathan, she's a stone cold killer. Kolchinski, you will have your day, Kristen. This is a rider to watch. Really exciting, Nathan. So she's the queen in waiting, I guess you would say. And then James Hodges, you're the man. No doubt about it. Hodges going back to back. So emphatic wins here. Talk about driving the dagger home, though. I mean, that was absolutely a plan. She delivered, as that's Antonina Reznikov that we're looking at warming down right now for the PTZ team. Nathan, let's do this again next week. This is some great. I think that's going to be Carly Johan, the American that we're looking at now. This is as good as it gets. We just need to build
they just
up
came
these
across the line.
a little.
We just missed the sprint there between these riders. But we'll take a look here real quick at what the results were on the day as they do come in. I do have the top 8 amongst the men, so let's go ahead and jump in with them as they are finishing up, as they're just finishing up out on course here. So, yeah, amongst the men, it looks like it is going to be. I will go ahead and use France. France seems like a great place to look at for the background here.
Agreed.
As we've got, it looks like in the jungle circuit, 3 laps. James Hodges again, and I do see in the chat people giving some congratulations. Gino Bartali, actually, that is going to be Gaja, jumping in over at chat saying, well done to Hodges. Good to see you. Oh, man, that was tough. So it looks like Penn Henderson there for 2nd. Andrew Gaja coming in through for 3rd. Bill Whiteley to the line in the sprint, unable. That was a really close sprint. Look at the difference there between him, Chris Mann, as well as Phil Lightly. And it's going to be Hugo Sanchez, who was off the back just a little bit there, about 10 seconds. And then Ponton Sinning across line 49.58. Go ahead and take a quick look then at the women's race. as we saw that play out there. And Dave, Antonio Reznikov at the top.
Yeah, how good is she? It's going to be interesting to see what happens now. We've got a couple more races in this series. Kluczynski, solid silver today. Courtney Nelson for bronze. Shayna Paulus puts two riders from 2020 up in the top four. Beth McIver in fifth. Carly Johan takes sixth. Then you got Jen Lubke, Charlotte Backus, Dana Wagner, Natalia Franco rounding out the top 10 for our elite women's field here.
Coming back in with the B category here. Simon Christie there coming on through for first place. Carl Povey, and it's going to be Ricardo Gama, Joyce Costello, and then Mikael Justesen, followed up by Steve Milliken from the WTRL, participating in his own race.
Hey.
Good to see them out in the B category. It looks like Mark McPhee just crossing the line. Now, it goes to show how difficult this course is, as riders are still just finishing up across the categories. There's a reality that these races, if you're looking for a very difficult, a hard race, a good race, a tactical race, it goes to show, Dave, I think, with the time differences as well between each of the categories. A lot of times the Bs will finish a little bit closer to the A category than you see there. I mean, that was a solid almost 10 minutes or so, or, a little bit from when the men finished to when the B category for the men finished. I think there's just a reality that the gravel just makes things really, really difficult, very tactical. It's hard racing with the climb in there. I think next week we're going to go forward, reverse, forward, reverse. So next week, if you want to jump into this, go ahead and we'll be doing a broadcast again next week. It's a 4-week series. Before we jump into in the next thing that we're going to be doing is going to be the empowerment. So this is a 4-week series that's running, and then after this, it's going to be the WTRL Ladies Empowerment Series running from September 8th with WTRL. So, and I believe that'll have a focus on ladies racing, but as well, I do believe they are going to be doing racing across all of the categories as well. There, I have to double check on that information though, but I believe there was chatter that we are going to be servicing both of the men and the women for that. But Gravel Series racing, pretty cool, really tactical, Dave.
Yeah, I want to thank, again, our friends Martin and Steven. You just saw Steven up in the results there. They do so much work and are such great guys. And to all of the racers out there, you make my day every single time you race. So thank you so much. The entertainment, the motivation, it's tremendous. So keep up the pressure, everybody.
Yeah, always really great. I really appreciate everybody jumping into the broadcast and the chat and everything. Next up, we do have a TT tomorrow with USA Cycling. We have been doing that. I have to see if we can get the only reason, just so everybody knows, the only reason sometimes we do not cover the TT modes is because when we use Zwift specific TT mode, it doesn't always function super well with the ability to broadcast it. Now, if we can get that to work tomorrow, we'll be doing some testing. We will be here. If we don't, then the next time we will see you is with the WTRL TTT. So be on the watch out for scheduling of the USA Cycling Series TT if we can. Otherwise, we'll see you for the WTRL TTT, as well as the Koa boys will be back as they usually are. So thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, right on.